Corey, did anything big happen for you this weekend?
No, nothing happened this weekend. I did have to do some cleaning.
You had to do some cleaning?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, there was this small little game that I think a small team called Bama played. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, something about the tide getting rolled is what I
Yeah,
heard. That's
yeah,
what I
yeah.
heard. All right. Hey, huge one. Well, number one to all of our listeners, cards on the table. Of course, we missed last week. That is all on me. Um, so I just sorry with a new baby and some wild schedules, it just didn't happen. But
It's week 0. It wasn't
if
that
we
important.
if we had made a like week zero recap and week one preview, you would have heard us say Florida State's absolutely 100% going to win this game. They're going to dominate Alabama. They're going to make them look like a bunch of children. And actually, I wouldn't have said any of those things. I thought they were going to get rolled, and they showed up ready for the fight. Like,
I did say that there's a chance that Florida State has an opportunity. I said that to the brothers. Brian, if you know, in our text group called me and said, "Hey, you said there's a chance," but I didn't think it was not going to be close. If that makes any sense.
yeah,
And
and me being sort of the I think it's Jeff Cameron who's like I said, like, look, a dog that has been physically abused, like, it takes them a while to like trust that when a hand is reached out to them to like to actually trust. I mean, sorry, it's kind of like it's a sort of a morbid analogy, but like we're up 14 with like 3 minutes left, and I'm still like, how is this gonna go wrong? Like,
yeah, so I'll tell you, like I was I got sidetracked at a birthday party that I didn't necessarily want to be to. And we're going home, and my wife's like, "I'm sorry, I know I've maybe missed the beginning of the game," and I'm like, "Okay, so now what do I do? Do I check my phone? Like I check the phone and be like, all right, I'm not gonna be upset by the score, or do I just start in and try and have the hope?" And I'm like, I don't want to ruin having hope. If we're already down, I just want to know we're down. And I check the score, and it's 14-7. There's about 6 minutes left in the second half, and I'm like, I need to turn on the TV. What is going on? We sent the kids. We got done with the birthday party. We sent the kids upstairs into quiet time, let them do their thing, and I'm like, I'm just gonna watch the show. And Heather fell asleep right next to me because Heather, she loves football, loves to supports me in football, but could care less about football at the same time.
sure,
And she fell asleep and woke up to me going, "Go, go, 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 go!" When
the
uh,
Danzy.
no, it was on the wheel route to
Oh, to what's his name? I'm
speaking of
blanking on
number
his name.
12. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I can't remember his name now off the top of my head. I think it bothers me.
Ja'Kai Douglas's half brother. That's gonna
Yeah.
bug me too. Indiana transfer. I can.
Anyways, and she wakes up and goes, "Wow, he's fast." That's the first two words out of her mouth as he speeds down the sideline, and that's what Florida State needed to kind of push it over the edge. That was what gave, I think, put it at 24-7 right before then. And honestly, I've rewatched this game. There are like a number of spots where Alabama bit themselves in the butt. Like they had the momentum, they had Florida State in third and long, and then they have a late hit or have a personal foul, and Florida State goes and scores that final touchdown to make it 31-17. Like there are some places where Bama just beat themselves up a little bit, but also Florida State just played a great game and designed a great game from an offensive perspective, and their players actually wanted to play and win a game
Yeah, they
from a
showed
defensive
up
perspective.
just embracing the physicality of the game. That's the part that
Yeah,
was most surprising to me.
what was interesting was Coach White's Tony White, is that his name?
Tony. Mm-hmm.
His comments before were, if you're not physical, don't. If you're not willing to try, if you're not willing to do what you're supposed to do, like don't. Well, I'm not gonna put you on the team. I'm not gonna put you in the even the two deep. He kind of voiced that people need to stand up and start being a little bit better and more physical and more active. And then he throws off the starting safety off the team 2 weeks before the game. You're supposed to play with Alabama.
Message
He goes like,
received is what I would say.
yeah, but the other thing that was interesting was like it kind of was like a keep everything in front of you and then trigger on everything that's in front of you. And they did. They kept everything in front of them. I think they had one rush for more than 10 yards in the entire game, and they had like a few. They had no blown like coverage, major blown coverages. They just kept things in front of them and then triggered on them. And it was interesting to me to see that like they figured out once you pressure Alabama's quarterback, he's not going to be able to complete the ball, and so they just played that in the shell and then let their defensive line pressure because the defensive line, those 3 or 4 linemen, were getting enough pressure to actually cause problems, which was surprising to me. I don't know. I looked over to Heather, and I had a few other people call me and say like, "Is Florida State good or is Alabama bad?" And I go, "This is a." If you want me to get into that, I can get into that.
Go for it. Yeah.
If Bama does not improve, this is a 4-loss Bama team.
Agreed.
If this is still probably a 4-loss Florida State team, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Like but they flew around. They were trying hard, and that's more than you could say all of last year, except for the first quarter against Georgia Tech. So, Florida State fans ran the field, and good on them. It's been a year of misery and another year and a half of heartbreak if you go back to the playoffs. So
definitely. Yeah, I am very much on team don't storm the field. I felt like they maybe earned that one. I'll back off a little bit. I did kind of just like sigh as I saw them go over. I was like, but with everything after that, you got left out of the playoffs in 2023 that's gone down. Whatever.
It was something. It was almost like a victory that healed a nation, like a FSU nation. Like really, in reality, they've been hurting. They've been whatever else. It was terrible, and then they said, "Okay, we aren't that 2-10 team. We aren't whatever else. We're somewhat vindicated." Now, is this a quality SEC win? We'll see if they're able to change who they are a little bit and they can compete in the SEC. Great, it's a great win. But if they don't change and get better, it's like, oh, you beat a middle of the pack SEC team. Like, you're probably a middle of the pack.
Yeah. I am curious, and I'm maybe jumping the gun here, but one of the things in the offseason, I think I was talking to Brian about this, our brother, and he was like, what is the path for FSU to beat Bama? Because I was sullen and kind of thinking, I'm not even that excited about the season because I just know we're just going to get our teeth kicked in at least 3 or 4 times in the year, and we're really not going to compete for anything super meaningful. And who knows if the team just craters if they after they lose that Bama game, like what happens, right? But he was like, well, what would it take? And I was like, I think they have to start the wrong quarterback. I think they did. And I specifically had mentioned Ty Simpson at the time. Wish I'd gone record here saying like he's been there.
Yeah.
I'm not. I expected him.
You started Jalen Milroe, who can't throw a ball over him.
Right, for 2 years. Like it's one thing. Okay, like hey, he's a redshirt freshman. We gotta go with someone else. But last year, Milroe wasn't any good. And Milroe, did he ever get pulled for him?
I think he did a little.
I mean, I can't remember that, but like the Oklahoma game was a disaster, and I don't think Ty Simpson played a snap in it because it's like, okay, there must be levels to like exactly how bad each of these guys are. But so that's why it surprised me where he was announced the starter pretty early on in camp, and there was a couple of puff pieces written about him right after he was announced. Like one in CBS Sports was interesting. It's like, his weight will pay off, and they kind of really gassed him up. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I'll make note of that. I can't remember who wrote it, but I did. I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. And that first drive, things went according to plan, but it was, I think, 9 rushes and 2 passes or something like that. They didn't really ask him to do much.
Yeah. It was.
I can't remember exactly what the run to pass. It was pretty heavy run. It was just like, they're getting 4 yards a carry, and so I was kind of like, maybe they don't need him this game. Maybe they can sort of ease him into the season. But every time he had to throw, and toward the end of the game, he just looked visibly rattled. It's like, okay, he's between his ears right now. He's not focusing on the game. He's somewhere else. And Brian was over here watching the game with us. They're in town, and he said, to me, there was a red flag. He had, I think it was at SEC Media Days, he was asked a couple of questions about like keeping in touch with some other greats that have gone through that are playing in the pros. I can't remember if it was Tua or Mac Jones, or they had that nice string of quarterbacks that are in the league. And he said something along the lines of, the biggest thing that they've helped me do is like with the mental side specifically. And I think he said something around like, managing nerves. And so it's like, red flag. Like that might be a problem. Like when the lights come on, maybe this guy struggles with the butterflies, and I think after that first drive, you may have seen a little bit of that too.
Well, I mean, that first drive, yeah. So I pulled it up. 17 plays, 75 yards, run, pass, run. We're gonna get crazy on this here. Penalty, run, incompletion. So that's the second pass. Run, pass,
3.
touchdown pass. Like, so 4 passes. I think you have 3. You have 3 for 4, but like the passes for 2 yards, the passes for an incompletion, another pass for 11 yards, and then the other pass was for 12 yards. So it's like you're not throwing it down the field either and attacking it.
Yeah,
Which you don't have to do against teams. Like, I think the thing is that Bama tried to lean on the run and then couldn't lean on the run, which was like a little scary for them. Like, you tried to lean on the run, and you should have a really good offensive line. You should have that, and you are out your starting running back. But like, no offense, your Florida State started a freshman at defensive end, and
he acquitted himself pretty well against that line.
And we're not talking like a 5-star. We're talking a 3-star freshman, and he played amazing. But like even I heard Bud Elliott mention the comment, like the transfer from Nebraska, James
Williams,
yeah, he ended up getting benched after that first series, and then coming in because he was doing terrible, and so that Florida State kind of was just like, all right, well, we'll play who works, and it's insane to me. You played 20-something players, I think it was like, and I think it was like 24 players, and 22 players got over 20 snaps in that game. You're talking like you're trusting a ton of young talent in pressure-built situations and everything.
In the biggest game that they have played in to this point, especially for like the several true freshmen that were out there. Like, wow. So yeah, that was fun. That was awesome.
Yeah,
I've rewatched it 3 times, and every time it gets better. It's like a fine wine.
Yeah, I think the other thing is like watching the rain come in the second and third quarter, and watching the crowd just being crazy and not going out, not leaving.
Yeah, no one's running for cover.
Yeah, because the game was going amazing. It was fun to watch. I can't imagine being there.
I know. Oh, that'd have been sweet. I also would have been the person that was like, no, I'm not going to be there because I don't want to fork out a bunch of money to watch a loss. And belief is an important thing. I don't have any. But maybe I'm just being forced to have a little bit today, or at least to start the season. It's exciting. How about that? Anything else to say on that one, or we can go? I can go around to a couple of other games I got eyes on.
I think the other thing is like Tommy called a shot, which is kind of crazy. He called
yes,
a shot.
I forgot.
People
yes, of course.
Challenged him on it, and then he stood firm on it, and then whatever. Like, I've seen some articles that written was like, that is one of the biggest shot calls like I've ever seen. Like, you're going into a game that you should arguably have no belief that you should win, and you're calling your shot, and then you're doubling down on your shot when you get a chance to back out, and then you actually like perform. He did great. He looked masterful in that system. So,
yep. It'll be exciting going forward to see if they can keep it up, or if they caught lightning in a bottle. Gus Malzahn, there's that angle too. Just he's the Bama Slayer, and he rides again.
The thing that it potentially sets up for you, which is kind of maybe we go here already, but I mean, it sends up potentially if Miami can handle business against Florida, 2 undefeated teams in Week 5 from the ACC that are like,
you got to do what you got to do against Virginia too. I know, no disrespect to like, I got to see this team.
Oh, Florida State could definitely drop it, and I expect them to drop a game that they could win. Like, that happens. We've seen Gus Malzahn do that, so I'm not sitting there saying it. But
yes, you're right. Like, the eyes turned to that one. Really, that's kind of what I thought with, like, so you have, East Texas A&M and then Kent State on deck and a bye week somewhere mixed in there. Maybe the bye week is after Virginia. I can't remember. But I was like, put Gus back in the lab and have him work 3 weeks on getting something for Miami, who, by the way, Miami looked extremely good Sunday night. I don't know if you caught up.
I did not watch that game. Um, so I
Okay.
can't speak to that.
Well,
But
let's
I did
shift.
hear that
Oh,
they didn't
go.
use CJ, or that they didn't use that they leaned on CJ Carr way too much instead of trying to actually use your running back. So
Yeah, who popped on the screen every single time he touched the ball. It's like, oh, he's completely different from everyone else. So I do have some criticisms for Notre Dame in that game. But before anything else, on our win totals draft, I think I mentioned this, or maybe it was an offseason episode, but I
I didn't
mentioned,
see. Yeah.
okay, so Ruben Bain, right? I talked about how there was a couple of clips from him in spring
Mhm.
where things look problematic.
Yeah.
Well, that's been solved completely. So yeah, he looked awesome, super explosive, blowing by linemen. I am curious there, like the interception. So he intercepts a pass in the game, and what
Mhm.
happens is there's a bubble screen to a wide receiver that's blown up by the defensive back, fights through a block. But I'm curious on a bubble screen, pass interference should still apply, right? Like he hits the wide receiver well before the ball is there. Like and he ends up popping up the ball. Now, maybe you could argue that he's going for the ball. I know you maybe haven't seen the play in question, but anyway,
Yeah.
if I was Notre Dame, I'd be like, hey, like it's a screen, but I don't know. I need to better understand some of the technical rules there, but like he's kind of all over the wide receiver beforehand, but it pops up. Ruben Bain grabs the interception, but he was pressure all night. Miami's offensive line looked very good. Their defensive line looked very good. They have a true freshman wide receiver named Malachi Tony, who is sensational already. Like, oh, he's special. He's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I would quibble with some of the choices on the on Notre Dame's offensive the play calling with regard to how much you're going to throw. Now it was interesting because my wife and I were just sort of watching it, and it was kind of going on in the background while we were doing some things Sunday night, and I just mentioned to her, I was like, it's fascinating. You have a true or not a true freshman, a redshirt freshman making his first start on the road in a hostile environment, and you have what is widely considered to be one of the top two or three running backs in the country, if not the very best. Like
Mhm.
he's really special. And I think they opened up with 5 or 6 straight passes. Like and I was like, oh, that's interesting, you know. And my wife was like, well, maybe they're just trying, like, you know, they thought that would be like a good tendency breaker. And
Yeah. Get them in rhythm and
right,
everything.
right.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's true. But as we just kept watching, it was like, man, they still are not going to their best playmaker. And again,
Mhm.
of the touches he has, like you can very clearly see he's an extremely special athlete. Like
Yeah.
he's super explosive, like gets up to top speed really fast. 2 or 3 different times was attempting to hurdle guys, like really, really talented, and just did not, in my opinion, get enough touches. I understand maybe the concern on the second half where they were trying to like, hey, let's not shorten the game anymore. We're already down by 2 scores,
Yeah.
but you gotta get him involved in the game.
I mean, he's not even your leading rusher in the game.
Yeah, the price ended up being that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, who's a fine player too, but I mean Jeremiah Love. I mean he was a workhorse for them last year, especially in the playoffs, and when he was injured, you could see kind of some of the differences in what Notre Dame was able to do offensively last year. So hopefully that's back to the drawing board for the Notre Dame faithful and the Notre Dame offense. Try and retool exactly what that play balance looks like.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I feel like we have a lot of we talked about this at one point in time. A lot of good teams that have first year brand new quarterbacks or whatever else, and a lot of teams didn't handle that very well. Um, I don't know. I feel like there's like Notre Dame, for instance. I feel like you've got Texas
Texas,
potentially.
yeah, that was
I
my
would
next
say
one.
like I would say Ohio State like did okay, right? You put yourself in some situations to be successful. But yeah, even I just like the teams breaking in new quarterbacks. I mean, even how they used Ty Simpson in Alabama is just like he's not a freshman, but he's a new quarterback. I mean, if you go through your top 10 teams via the AP poll, I think it's what Penn State and I can't think of who else has a returning
Clemson,
quarterback.
LSU.
Yeah, and maybe Clemson. Yeah, Clemson and LSU. Yeah, and I think those would be the three. Because Texas started a new quarterback, Ohio State started a new quarterback, Georgia went to a new quarterback, Notre Dame went to a new quarterback, Oregon went to a new quarterback, Alabama went to a quarterback, LSU has one, Miami has a new quarterback, but actually
But
this
he's not a
season,
new starter, new to
yeah,
them. Yeah.
and then you go to Arizona State and Illinois and South Carolina. That's when you start to get to a little bit more
Yes,
seasoned
some
quarterbacks.
more experience. Yeah.
But then Michigan, even with Bryce Underwood, there's a lot of new talent with supposedly good support staff. So this is, I think, why I think it's going to make an interesting season, and also why you'll see teams kind of they're not going to win with their quarterback; they'll win around the quarterback, which is kind of what Ohio State did. That defense was
Mm-hmm.
ferocious.
And some of them, I wonder if they do that until the quarterback's maybe has his legs
Exactly.
underneath him and is ready to emerge. So I'm not selling on anyone completely, but yeah,
Especially
Arch
for a
Manning
season.
struggled. He struggled without a doubt. A couple of those
But give,
passes where it's just like that's a gimme pass. They did that to try and get you in rhythm, and you bounced it to him.
yeah, and give it time. Give it a few weeks, and these teams are going to be completely different. And a
Yeah.
lot of these teams are still going to be in the playoffs. So
Yeah. There's plenty of time to make improvement, and I think sort of one of those football cliches is that the biggest leap that a team makes is from week 1 to week 2. So we'll see what works. So we kind of covered a few of those games. I don't know what other games you want to talk about specifically. I have some other tidbits.
yeah, if you want to give some specifics items, that's fine. And then I want to talk about who came out on top in the out of conference plays. Where do you rank the conferences? Because this is when we start to see.
You can. Yeah, I don't know if you've got numbers on that, but by all means,
I'll pull them up.
Yeah, if you pull that up, I'll just throw out a couple of other things that I thought were interesting or fun, or I already mentioned a couple of freshmen that really caught my eye. Corey, Cal's got a QB.
Yeah.
Jaron Kelly Sangapolutete can really sling it. Combine that with a really good defense and a good defensive brain trust. Cal all of a sudden looks like an 8-win team, and maybe if the freshman really arrives, again, he's playing against Oregon State, but on the road and did not seem phased at all. And he's a southpaw, which just makes it even more fun. He's lefty, but man, there were times where I was like, man, his receivers are letting him down because he put some insane throws in that game. He's exciting to watch. So you heard it here first. Cal's football is going to be fun, and their defense hits like a ton of bricks.
I also want to hear first what how do you say his name?
Jaron Kiawe, and the Kiawe, I think you could say that W as a V if it's Hawaiian, like I expect it is.
Okay.
His last name is Sangapolutete, and that's Samoan. So I think he's part Hawaiian, part Samoan. So I'm very confident in the last name, not quite as confident in the first name.
I'm still impressed. I always love giving you a hard time about those.
It's one of those things where it's just like nails on a chalkboard when you hear people just really butcher them. And it's like, I get it, it's hard, but it's also not that hard. They're spelled just like, or they sound just like they're spelled. You just have to take a little bit of time to walk yourself through it once or twice. But yes, he is a baller and was at Oregon for a heartbeat or two, and then transferred to Cal, who he'd been committed to before he flipped to Oregon. And fascinating what comes from that. Brian Harson's the offensive coordinator there. They also have the old Washington State head coach, Nick Rolovich, is on that staff too. So there's some offensive brain power there. Again, everyone was like, well, they lost so many guys to the transfer portal on offense, which they did. That is true. Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback. Mendoza's at Indiana now. Jaden Ott's at Oklahoma, who the leading rusher from last, or maybe not the leading rusher. I think he was injured a little bit, but their number one running back.
He was their best rusher.
Yeah, their best running back is the right way to say that. Who's at Oklahoma now? Jake Andrews was the tight end that caught about 600 yards for them. Now is the starting tight end at Texas right now. Naziah Hunter had a couple of really big plays for Nebraska out wide. He caught a touchdown in the game from Dylan Raiola. So they lost a ton of production on that offense. Man, it would have been really awesome to see what that would all look like with the 5-star trigger man just pulling things. But nonetheless, Cal football is one to just maybe keep an eye on. They're kind of, I don't think they're a real conference contender yet, but they'll be a problem for some teams in the ACC. A couple of other things I wanted to highlight as well. We talked about, I guess we touched on Ohio State, Oklahoma. Ohio State's defense didn't miss a beat,
Nope.
which was stunning to me. Like I thought, if anything, I knew that there was a slugfest between these same two teams in the playoff last year. I expected way more points in this game, and was a little surprised to see how well, how well Ohio State played defensively given the losses up front. So something to keep in mind going forward. Like that their defense seems to that it didn't lose a beat. What else did I have as far as just like quick observations? Oh, Utah. Did you see the score of that Utah game? Oh my gosh. Hard. I feel like I'm overreacting to it, but it's hard not to. When you go in, you're favored by 5.5, and you win 43-10. And the defense looked like it. I thought the defense might take a step back this year, not in game one at least. And
Nico didn't do himself any favors either.
So. Whoa! I bet you Tennessee just. If you're a Tennessee fan, the weekend couldn't have gotten much better for you. Just like, all right, good. We win pretty comfortably at Syracuse. So maybe it was like one or two things there where it's like, okay, you'd like to think that they maybe, Joey Aguilar I think was fine. There was a couple times where he did miss a couple throws, but he did hit some deep shots as well. So maybe not a perfect game from the Vols, but one that you would certainly accept. They covered the spread. They kept Syracuse at a comfortable distance from like 2 or 3 possessions in. And then yes, you see that, okay, we won the breakup, right? Like we won the breakup. He's with someone worse now. And yeah, just yikes. But Utah's offense, Devin Dampier, super dynamic. It is fascinating to me that they played 2 defensive players at least 8 snaps on offense. So
Lander, Tennessee?
No, I'm talking about Utah still. Sorry, I'm going back.
Oh, the cornerback. Yeah, okay.
Well, so the cornerback Smith Snowden played in the slot for them. He catches a touchdown pass, and he caught a couple swing passes. He was pretty productive. I was actually like, hey, he looks faster and better on this side of the ball. Like, not to say that he was bad. He's a pretty, he's a really good defensive back. But it's just like, man, maybe I just didn't get a sense for how explosive he is because I've never seen him with the ball in his hands. Mm-hmm. Wow, he looked good. But then they also played Lander Barton, their starting middle linebacker, at tight end, and he ends up catching a touchdown pass too. So 2 of their touchdowns in the first half were by defensive players, but playing offense. They weren't defensive touchdowns. And I don't know. It was just like interesting. I don't know if that was something that they sort of dangled as like motivation for some of those players to like really turn in like an awesome offseason. I don't know. But also,
or maybe it's we're going to play the best players on either side of the ball.
Well, that's exactly where I was going next. Is like I know that there were questions at least at wide receiver for them, and it didn't seem like they got some answers in spring ball or in fall camp. And so maybe it's hey, if this is the person that gives us the best chance to win, I wonder. We talk about like different things that have maybe changed paradigm shifts. Like, do you remember like when the Wildcat quarterback became all the rage and like everyone had their Wildcat package for a while there? And now it's some people will do it here and there, but it's not. Again, it was kind of a universal term for about 3 years there when when Drake Bell was the belldozer at Oklahoma, and I can't remember who else. Like that's the one that jumps out at me. They weren't even the people who coined the Wildcat quarterback. I think it must have been, was it Darren McFadden at Arkansas? They'd get in the Wildcat with him and Felix Jones in the same backfield, and it's like, okay, defenses just don't have a chance, right? Like they get an extra blocker by having one of those guys at quarterback. I don't remember who popularized that term. I feel like they were one of the first to do that, but they maybe weren't the exact first. And I say first, like I know that there'd been elements of that in football before, but that really set that craze off in the late 2000s, early 2010s. But all that to say, I feel like the Travis Hunter effect is maybe starting to like it's planted seeds the last couple of years, and maybe they're starting to show a little bit of shoots coming out of the ground right now, where you're seeing a little bit more of that come out.
So I pulled up a quick thing. It says Gus Malzahn, running backs Derek McFadden and Felix Jones are primarily credited with making the Wildcat a big thing in modern football. Well done, Steve.
Back to the Gus bus. I forgot that he was that offensive coordinator.
I didn't.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, and I think he was mostly brought in because he had a quarterback, and he was a high school coach. He had Mitch Mustain as his QB. Mitch
Mm-hmm.
Mustain was a 5-star quarterback, and I think from Arkansas. And they're like, hey, we got to get this guy. Let's hire his head coach as our offensive coordinator. Didn't work. Mustain still picked Southern Cal, but Mustain really wasn't it at the next level. He didn't really have a great, college career. Ends up transferring back to Arkansas, and I don't think he started but maybe 1 or 2 games at Arkansas. But
Yeah, I don't remember that.
as a result of that decision, the Wildcats popularized. Auburn wins a national title in 2010, and Florida State beats Bama in 2025. The ripple effects are insane. Uh, anyway, I digress.
Are you talking butterfly effect, Steve?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's wild. Anything else on the week that was? It was a fun one. Oh, sorry. I should check in on the game that's currently going on. Are you aware?
You don't need to check on it. TCU's slaughtering you at UNC.
Oh, that's why I need to check on it. Do you not remember my prediction?
That Bill Belichick would be terrible.
No, specifically, this is what I said, and I'll have to reshare the short now that this has come to fruition. But they opened the season against TCU. I said TCU will beat North Carolina by more points than Jordan Hudson's age, Bill Belichick's girlfriend's age. She's 24 years old. I had to Google it tonight, and it's funny. Like in Google, when you go how old, the first thing that pops up is Bill Belichick's girlfriend. That is the suggested phrase. So I clicked on it because everyone else is Googling it tonight too. And guess what? She's 24. They're losing right now by 27, if my math is correct. And they have the ball. Right. TCU's also got the ball again. So yeah, currently 41-14. So excellent job, Horned Frogs. Let's go.
So you want to talk about games and how teams?
I guess this is technically their little thing. Whatever.
So the ACC goes, if we're counting what we've got right now, the ACC goes 11-5, 7-5 against the BCS or against FBS opponents, and then 3-4 against Power 4.
Okay.
I haven't added numbers off the top of my head.
Sure.
And then still 2-3 against the Raiders.
And you're not counting this North Carolina loss. Okay. You're rolling in it. Yeah. I think we're safe to do that.
So that means the Big 12 goes 14-3, 5-3 versus FBS, 2-3 versus the Power 4, and they still don't play a ranked team. The Big 10 goes 16-2, 13-2 versus FBS, 2-1 versus Power 4, 1-0 versus ranked teams. That's Ohio State.
Ohio State beating Texas. Mm-hmm.
SEC goes 14-2, 9-2 versus the FBS, 4-2 versus Power 4, and 1-1 versus ranked. I mean, it's interesting because like everybody kind of has their highs and the lows. The SEC, their only major win in my thought process is like, I think you have two. You have LSU beating Clemson, and then you have Auburn beating Baylor. Like those are the non-paid for wins essentially. But you lost to Florida State.
Yeah, and I'd also say like right now, if you're saying the takeaway is that the upper echelon of the SEC, as of this moment, and with current data in right, like so like Georgia might be a difference maker that is sort of for this point is on the sidelines because they played Marshall, right? We don't know, but the top tier of college football like seems like they've sort of taken a step back. But the depth of the conference maybe is being advertised right now, where you have, South Carolina expected to be like a 6 or 7 win team, beating Virginia Tech. I
wouldn't say South Carolina is a 6 or 7 win team. I think South Carolina people
6.5 is their win total. That's where I said 6. That's kind of the assumption, right? Is that they're sort of
a lot of people think that they'll compete for the playoff spot potentially.
I think they're wrong, but that's okay. I mean, again. They maybe poured it on a little bit at the end of that game, but like that was a pretty close game with Virginia Tech. So to me, alarm bells are going off for them. But my point was that maybe someone that's sort of a middle of the road team in the SEC is not necessarily a middle of the road team. They're probably a top third-ish team in some of these other leagues. My big takeaway was that the Big 12 needed some key victories. and they didn't really get
This
any
TCU
except
one
for
might
this
be
one.
the
That's
only one.
yeah, this is the one that's currently happening right now is the only one that really um, jumps out at me as like one that they had to have. You would have liked to have seen Cincinnati beat Nebraska, had an opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
Close
No,
game,
but
fun one to watch. Couldn't get it done. Baylor got
I think you
smoked.
also
Like
needed Baylor to beat Auburn from your
that
like
was
if
that
Baylor's supposed to
to
be
me is
like
critical.
competing for the top of your conference and they can't beat Auburn, who's I expect to be middle of the tier for SEC. Like this is an issue.
Yeah, I think again we'll see what happens with Jackson Arnold going forward. He looked okay. He looked good. I mean, he played a fine game. To me, I'm not completely sold on him just yet,
No.
but because I felt like Baylor sort of played into his hands where it's like, hey, we'll just let him run. We won't force him to throw, which was a little surprising to me.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, I guess given their weapons on the outside, you might want to be a little bit more cautious with because they have some really good wide receivers. So like I guess that makes some sense, but even then, I'd still want to see Jackson Arnold do it at least 2 or 3 times before I'm convinced that he's the guy to deliver it to those really dangerous weapons on the outside. At any rate, they needed that one, missed on that one. The really only big win that they got was Utah beating UCLA, TCU beating North Carolina. So beating two teams that maybe there were sort of middling expectations for at best. I don't know. I went into the season thinking the Big 12 could get two in the playoff if they had a good first week. I am not saying that they would, but that
I
they
went into the
could.
season thinking there's no way that they get.
Well, I'm saying like if they had a good first week, they probably could. I'm not saying even then that they would, but
Yeah.
that they would have a good first week, or even if they had a first week, that it's guaranteed that they could get two in. But they needed to have one in order to have a chance. I think that chance is gone. And the ACC is looking like, all right, you might get 2 or 3 if
If
you
you include
can.
Notre Dame, are you including Notre Dame or no?
No, I'm saying like, okay, let's say Clemson rights the ship, right? Okay,
Do you think Clemson rights the ship? That did
I
not look
don't.
pretty.
I don't. Sorry, we didn't really touch on that game, did we? I don't.
Not at all.
It didn't look great. A bunch of transfers on defense from LSU kind of wrapped that team up, which was surprising to me. I again
Just Cade
expected
hasn't
more
taken that
points.
next step, and I thought he would take the next step, and he hasn't. It doesn't look like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
one game. Give it one game, but like, yeah, we'll
but
see.
a really important game, like an important data point for like, are you beating up on kind of the Wake Forests and the Cals and the
Yeah,
Virginias of the world, or when it comes to really top tier competition, how are you
yeah.
looking? And they
So
offensively did not look very good.
we looked at it from an SEC perspective. We looked at it from a Big 12 perspective. From a Big 10, this is about as good as it kind of gotten. UCLA got stomped a little bit, and then Tulane beat Northwestern. But we already knew what Northwestern was
Yeah,
going to
it's
be
the
the bottom
bottom of
there.
an 18 team conference, whatever. Like
Yeah,
that's kind of off the upper tier of it so far. Has passed the test.
and the ACC had more losses than anybody else, but they also had substantial wins. So it was like a mixed bag for them. It's like, hey, you
Mm-hmm.
won big games, and if Clemson had won, that would have been unreal for the ACC.
Yeah,
You've come out, you
if
beat
you could have
LSU,
clean
you beat Bama.
swept the
Yeah,
top 10 games, yeah, it would have been very interesting. But and again, there was a close fought game, but
yeah.
again, they came up short. Um, sorry, I'm looking
Oh,
at the time here, and should we spin forward to week 2? I know
let's
that
go
we
for
got
it.
all right. As far as week 2 goes, it's kind of a different slate. I know that we were sort of loaded on this first one with lots of like top 10 matchups and some really interesting ones. This one does not hurt. Like this one still whets my appetite for football. I am intrigued. I'll highlight a couple of them that kind of have my eye. Number one, I think Illinois at Duke is an awesome start to the day. Like
Okay.
Illinois is again ranked 12. They beat Western Illinois last week, so don't really know about them. Duke took a little bit to get going against Elon, but at the end of the day, the win was a 45
Yeah.
to 17 win. It kind of took them a little bit to rev their engine. Darian Mensah went 27 of 34 with 389 yards and 3 touchdowns. So like the new QB appears to be working.
Yeah. Did you see David Hale's comment about Duke about Mensa?
No.
Oh, here, let me find it real quick. David Hale, ESPN writer, said, "Where is it? Darian Mensah is the only Duke QB in the last 20 years to throw for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and average 10 yards per attempt. It's the first time Duke has had 300 passing yards and 150 rushing yards in a game since 2002, and the most total since 2021. Sorry, not 2002, 2022. So, like, it was Elon, but Duke's, it's still the best that Duke's ever performed on against anyone, so kind of interesting.
Oh, good to know. So yeah, there's that one I think is an interesting game. Again, that one maybe helps sort out the pecking order a little bit more because you have a sort of, Duke, what, they won 9 games last year, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
And so it's like, so maybe mid to upper tier of the ACC, or at least kind of where they've sat in the last couple of years. And that's sort of a similar spot for Illinois in the Big Ten. So a good data point there when looking at different conferences. Here's another one. Does Ole Miss get revenge against Kentucky? Like, Kentucky spoiled Ole Miss's playoff hopes by beating them in the Grove. Now Ole Miss travels to Kentucky. Kentucky did not look especially impressive against Toledo, but again, the line there is, it's now at 10.5, so it did cross the threshold of, like, I think it opened at 8 or 8.5, and I think it's going to move.
Where it was easy money.
I think so. Yeah. So that one's got my eye. The Cyhawk Iowa State is, again, always fascinating to me. That one's good, man. We didn't have a chance to talk about this because we haven't talked since the season actually started, but the Rocco Beck, the QB for Iowa State, man, he is slippery. He's just so good in the pocket. So wanted to shout him out both for the win at Kansas State in week 0. Excited to see him go up against Iowa again. That one should be a fun one.
I'm excited for Florida USF. Watching USF play this last week, their quarterback is a little thundering. Like, if you get a chance, just go watch the highlights from that game. He runs over quite a few people. And there's one play where he runs just through like 3 different tackles. And that dude's insane. It's like DJ Lagway without the arm. Arm talent. But I mean, he can still tuck a ball. But I'm excited to watch those two teams go at it.
Yeah, and Alex Golish, the head coach for USF, had them absolutely fighting tooth and nail with Bama last year. They were right in that game up until about 3 or 4 minutes left, and the wheels come off. Like, Bama scores, I think, 3 touchdowns in the last, I don't remember how many minutes, but they make the game close. They make the game look a whole lot like, if you just looked at the score, you'd think it was a much more lopsided affair than it really was. So I'm interested to see how that one shakes out. That's a good call out. Michigan at Oklahoma.
That's gonna be fun. That's got to be the best game. As far as name brands this year.
Yeah, it's name brands, and it's also just like, all right, we still don't know what either of these teams are. Like, Michigan struggled against, who do they play at?
New Mexico.
Thank you, New Mexico. Yeah, but it won by what, like 20?
It was like within 7.
17. Yeah, they won by 17. Yeah, and it was close. So, like, kind of a rocky start. Oklahoma, they beat. Was it in Illinois State? Illinois State 35-3. So defense did its job. Offense, so far so good. So I really am interested to see. I don't know what to make of it. I do lean Oklahoma. I would even like lay the points. Like, that'll be one of my picks for this week. Like, lay the points 5.5. I like that. I think Michigan will struggle to score. Let's put it that way. So. I'm on that one right now. A couple others that I wanted to just quickly highlight as interesting.
I'm excited. Scroll past UNLV, UCLA. UNLV's already started off 2-0. They haven't played major competition, but you've got a UCLA team that's hurting. Can you
reeling? Yeah,
really punch them down and then give yourself and be like, hey, we've faced a lot of the hardest, maybe the hardest, quote unquote, hardest person on our schedule, and we're 3-0. Like,
yeah. Yeah, from at least a talent perspective, it's got to be close. Maybe, I'm assuming they play Boise, and so that might be kind of on the similar level.
Watching Boise against
maybe not. I think that they've got to circle the wagons. There was just a lot of sloppy play from Boise there. I still think that's a talented team. I'm not ready to sell on that team just yet, but yes, they've got
They
work
were
to
not
do.
in that game. I'll tell you that though.
I agree. From a G5 perspective, here's one: Western Kentucky at Toledo. I think
Okay.
that one's kind of like a sneaky, like, oh, keep an eye on that one for like playoff hopes. Toledo, man, they left a lot of plays on the field against Kentucky. That was really frustrating. They had some pretty gnarly drops. I think their QB struggled with like, do I take off and run or do I scramble to throw? So a little bit more decisiveness from him would help as well. Um, let's see, what was the other one? Sorry, I scrolled past another that I wanted to just
Arizona
touch
State,
on real
Mississippi
quick.
State.
Yeah, critical for the Big 12. Like you can't lose that one.
No.
That's basically what it is. It doesn't matter how ugly it is. Can't lose that one. Um, gosh, but there was another one that I must have
There are no more
passed it.
interesting games. That was all of them.
Okay, all right, maybe that's it. No, oh yeah. Excuse me. How could I miss this? The border war is back. Kansas, Missouri. Man, I'm pumped about this one. Yeah, have you like? I'm gonna ask a dumb question here. Are you familiar with that rivalry at all?
The closest I got familiar with that rivalry was in 2007 when both teams were actually good and ranked
Oh
top 10.
yeah, oh yeah.
I was I was on my mission and someone had us paint their house and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna play the game," and I put them I'm like, "This is like I don't remember the exact numbers. Like this is number three versus number what? This is number three versus number seven. What? Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
With that,
I,
is it Todd Reesing is quarterback at Kansas and Daniel?
I
What's
don't
his name? Somebody
I don't know,
Daniel.
but all I'm excited
Josh
to do
Daniel.
is watch more Jalen Daniels. Have you watched Kansas this year at all?
I've seen like 5 plays so
Like,
far
so I watched Kansas their
in
first
week
week here
0. Yeah.
and caught them a little bit this last week. Dude, I love the misdirection that happens with that offense and just watching uh, Jalen Daniels. He's something special. Like, I mean, you started off the year. You're 36 for 45. You've had 9 incompletions in 2 games. You're 7 touchdowns and 1 interception. Like, and then that's not including how many yards you've ran for, which I don't have it off the top of my head, but let me see, pull it up real quick. Oh, what's his rushing yards for this season already? Oh, there's rushing. It's he only ran for 18 last week because he didn't have to run. But against Fresno, he was just like dancing at the beginning. If you watch somebody against Fresno, he didn't play much in the second. Or like didn't play much in the fourth quarter
Okay.
because he didn't have to, and they were dominant. But that offense was humming from the get go. You seen people like struggle. No, that offense looked pretty, and they put 46 on Wagner. They've been moving the ball. This will be their first test, but I don't know. Like that offense is going to be fun. But also Missouri hung it up on people this week too.
Yeah, yeah. I'm interested in that one. Again, another one that if you're the Big 12, you got to have it. Like,
Yeah.
so this is maybe a little bit of a shot at redemption with some of those. Um, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Sorry, we didn't talk about this before. Do you have any picks for this week?
I'm not going to give you my picks yet. I'll go find them and let you know what they are.
All right. All good. I've got a couple I'll put out for the people. Give me just a second here. Alrighty.
While you're looking those up, do you know have we done our calculation on our win totals and seen how everybody did this week or so far?
I have not. I need to refresh it.
I'm just like
I thought
Brian
we
and I
said
were
we'd check
talking.
in at like every couple of weeks, right? Like maybe not every
Yeah,
week that we check in,
I
but
just enjoy it ourselves because it's like Brian's teams looked a little shaky. You had Boise State lose, Toledo lose, Miami won, thankfully for him.
and
Kansas
looked
State lost
really
earlier
good
this year.
doing it too. Like,
Yeah, Kansas State lost earlier. Georgia Tech tried to give the game away.
yeah, I don't think that would happen again. You turn the
Yeah,
ball
no,
over on your first three possessions and you still win. Like,
dude, it was a fun watch, and Brian's pretty convinced he's losing this year. That's all I know.
yeah, that's what he told me too. All right, here you ready?
Yeah, I'm having it.
Okay. Mississippi State +7 versus Arizona State. I think that's a closer game than people think. Plus, I get the push protection at 7. Um,
You think Mississippi State covers?
I think they do. Yeah, I think that's a sneaky good team. Like I watched some of their game against Southern Miss, and it's like, okay, I can see where they're inconsistent, but they have some athletes, including a true freshman quarterback that, I think outside of many, like Blake Shapen's like a super seasoned vet, so you got to start that guy. If he wasn't there, the true freshman would be starting. I don't think there'd be that much drop off. So, and they sprinkle him in. So, interesting to see that go forward. So, Mississippi State +7 against Arizona State. I don't necessarily think they win, but I think they play it within a touchdown. Georgia Southern. We talked about this one in the offseason too. Georgia Southern goes to Southern Cal. Clay Helton is the head coach of Georgia Southern. I would love to see that upset. It's not happening. USC is covering that 27.5. They will win by more than 4 touchdowns. Georgia Southern got blasted by Fresno last week. They're staying out on the West Coast. I'm pretty sure those players are going to be thinking about going home at halftime. Like, all right, can we just get back to
Are they
Georgia?
staying all the way out there?
They're staying there the whole time. Yeah, they're not traveling back. Why would you go back and forth of 2 straight weeks when you've had 2 straight games in California? Also, athletic director, maybe don't do that next time. That doesn't seem like that's really good business.
Unless you're getting
another
paid, and then maybe it is good business.
Yeah, okay. All right, fine. But Stanford versus BYU. BYU's favored by 18.5.
Oh, yeah. Give me BYU to cover that.
BYU is going to cover that, yes.
I watched
they are.
Stanford against Hawaii, and that Stanford team is not good. I told somebody, I was talking to somebody today, Stanford might score 7. Like, I don't think that team's good at all.
Yeah. And BYU looked, again, it was against Portland State, who the week prior had lost 42-0 to Tarleton State. So take it with a grain of salt, but BYU looked pretty sharp. So I'm going to do that one. I like Memphis -14 versus Georgia State as well. So the Georgia State and Southern, both in my crosshairs this week. I like the Navy midshipmen to beat UAB by more than 21.5. I'm taking some pretty big favorites and expecting them to cover those numbers, including another one here. Oregon -27.5 versus Oklahoma State. They're going to cover that. They will score more than that. I like Kansas as an underdog against Missouri +6. So we'll throw that one in there as well. And then Oklahoma. Oh, I took this screenshot yesterday. It looks like the line's moved to 5.5 now. I had it at Oklahoma -4.5. Like I said, I like them. I like them to cover the number. Again, I'm not enough of a gambling sharp to see like the major difference between a 4.5 point spread and a 5.5 point. It's not like a key number. So to me, it doesn't make a difference. So Oklahoma -5.5 is fine.
Watch it end up. They win by 5.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, they'll find a way. A couple others I'm looking at, but not ready to pull the trigger on just yet. Auburn -43.5 versus Ball State. I think that's an easy 48-0, 56-0 sort of a deal. And then Nebraska versus Akron. I could see Nebraska kind of putting one in cruise control. The number there is 34.5, so it's pretty high. That one I'm not making an official pick. Both of those are just ones that I'm kind of keeping my eye on. And here's my last pick. UCLA at UNLV. UCLA is 2.5 point favorites. I'm not going to bet the spread. I am going to bet the over. Both these teams don't play any defense. So 55.5 points. I think we're going to go over that.
Yeah, I'm seeing the over at 54.5 right now on DraftKings. So
there you go. All right, so that is moved. Like my screenshots from DraftKings, that's moved down. That's interesting. So I'm going the wrong way. Apparently the smarter money, or at least the public thinks the under is the play from 55.5. So it's moved down. I'm staying on business. I stand on what I said, just like Tommy Castellanos. All right, cool. So those are my picks for this week. We'll see how they do.
I'll record some picks, but you can definitely count me down for BYU to cover Stanford.
Done. All right, cool, man. Anything else you want to say this go around?
Nah, dude. Like I said, I'm going to be more casual. You might not even see me next week. You probably won't see me next week.
I imagine we won't. I don't know if you want to share that with the audience or not. That's up to you. But
I'm considering we're having a kid this weekend, so hey.
Yeah. So good luck to you. Yeah, you probably rolling solo next go around, but
Heather mentioned me. She's like, "Am I gonna hear football from your corner the whole weekend?" I'm like, "I'll bring headphones." So
Oh,
we'll
that's
see.
funny. All right. Well, cool. Well, thanks for sticking with us, everyone. Appreciate it. And yeah, we'll look forward to another week's worth of action, and we'll recap it next week, whether it's me or I don't know. Maybe I can twist Brian's arm into a guest appearance.
Yeah, live from the hospital. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't do it.
No,
Uh,
dude. No.
all right. All right. Thanks. We'll see you.
Later. Bye.